Okay, so this is Metroid Dread, and my name is Metrol, and I want to show you any percent glitchless. So glitchless is pretty interesting because it has a lot. It's a movement based category. In that, so there's a lot of glitches and sequence breaking in this game. You will easily, if you run this category, you will easily run out of tricks, and you'll have to rely on pure movement. So let's actually play the video. So but okay, I need to make sure desktop audio is actually playing. I don't know why desktop audio isn't playing. Okay, that's better. Okay, let's start that over. Alright, let's actually start that over. Okay, we're going to actually do this for real. So, my name is Metrol, and I want to show you Metroid Dread. I'm a member of the Metroid Dread speedrunning community, and I want... Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, we're actually starting for real this time. Hello, my name is Metrol, and I want to show you Metroid Dread any percent glitchless. So this category is interesting because of the fact that we can use whatever we want to beat the game, but we cannot use any glitches. So we are severely limited to what we can use to beat the game, meaning that we just rely on pure movement to go fast. And movement is the king of this category, essentially. So the route I'm going to be using is pretty interesting because there are like 3 routes people can use. I'm going to use one of the oldest that the game has ever had, and I'll explain it a little bit later. So we're actually going to start the VOD because I did not leave enough time to go explain because run starts like 6 seconds into the video. So yeah, I'm going to play it. So this is Metroid Dread again. I'm going to be starting on Rookie Mode, because Rookie Mode will give us extra missiles and make some parts of the run very helpful. So, as you see here, we're going to be on a loading screen for about 13 seconds. And so, now we're going to actually start. You'll see me run on the ground you'll see me stay on the ground more than in the air, because in this game, we're trying to minimize the airtime in the air, so you'll see me slide melee off of ledges because of that. And now here's the first atom. We're just going to spam through the text, and that's the first atom. So yeah. Basically now, we're just gonna watch, and we're going to actually play the game. Pretty much. What we're about to do in a second is, you would normally see me do something called the pseudo wave, but because this is glitchless, we're actually going to slide through this hole and see our friend the Broken Emmy, aka Elaine, which is what the community calls it. Yeah, so that Emmy right there is Elaine, like I've explained before. And now we're going to run from it. This is kind of supposed to be like, you know, the tutorial Emmy, which is supposed to teach us how to use the Omega Cannon, which we're about to use, which we just used the Omega Blaster. We're now going to position ourselves in a very specific spot right here so we can actually be closer to the Emmy, aka the door. So yeah, that's that. Elaine is down, and now we no longer have the Omega Cannon. In a second, you're about to see me do an optimization with that coyote jump. So, there's a small optimization you can do where you can slide at the right time to get the ledge early, but in this run I failed it, which is unfortunate, but it's okay. And now we encountered White Emmy, which now we're just going to run from it again. And now we're just going to wait for a little bit. Meanwhile, we're waiting for the Emmy. I'd like to explain a few things. So, we're running this run on the Nintendo Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 has drastically reduced loads, making the run faster overall and eliminating lag entirely. Basically, any load screens and door loads are now faster because of the Switch 2. Because of that, as a community, we are transitioning to load removal time, but that will take some time to implement. Want to really explain that? Because some of you may have seen this game and think, why is Metroid's game loading so fast? Well, there you go. Basically, the Switch 2 has a more powerful processing card than the Switch 1, so that's the real explanation. Unfortunately there, I got a bad Emmy spawn, so I had to wait a few seconds. Okay, Atari has a lot of pieces to it, but of course Atari has a lot of pieces, it's glitchless. Yeah, so we're about to do another trick, we call this cloakless water skip. And using home buffer, we can actually get across that ledge much easier than, like, the old set, which was triple frame perfect. The home buffer trivializes the setup entirely, because Samus gets more horizontal momentum or something like that if she uses the home buffer. Okay, so here's another trick we're going to use. It's called water plot skip. Instead of draining the water like we would usually do in a casual playthrough, we can use a well-timed wall jump in Melee to make it across there. And that's water plot skip, in a nutshell. So yeah. Basically, the well-timed wall jump's a buffered wall jump, which I'll be explaining in more detail later. Okay, now we have Charge Beam. Charge Beam is a... Okay, now that we have Charge Beam, we can do a lot with it. Obviously, we can open Charge Beam doors, which is required to beat the game, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to get to certain areas we would be able to. And now we're retracing our same steps to other areas, and we're using Charge Beam to actually go access another area of Artaria like we couldn't before. Okay, this is our first E-Tank. So we're going to be grabbing like 2 of these in the run. The first one is right there. It takes about 4 seconds, but it's extremely helpful. It significantly boosts our health and allows us to do a lot more stuff in Artaria and Cataris, which I'll get to Cataris later. Now we're just going to be retracing our steps. Tracing old grounds, like we were earlier. Okay, there, the Emmy could have given me a couple spawns. I got one of the really bad ones. The Emmy can be completely in your path, and there's nothing you can possibly do about it. Just wasting more time. And yeah, now that we've retraced our steps, we're going to be entering something that the community calls the David Jaff room. So, yeah, basically you may or may not know who David Jaff is. He really complained about this room, so the community decided to tease him by, naming a room after him. So there's where that joke comes from. Okay. The 6 minutes of routing in Artaria has brought us to our first thermal station, which is required to get to the White Emmy. Because there's certain doors, these thermal doors that you just saw open in the cutscene. That's what the White Emmy's locked by, so we're gonna head there. You're also going to see me skip a bunch of missiles because, again, item pickups can take a long time, and this is a speed run, so no one wants to pick up items. So that's why you will see me skip over a bunch of missile packs, even though they give you more missiles. We really don't need them, so yeah, that's that. Okay, you just saw the 3rd Atom encounter. So yeah, that's the 3rd out of 4 Atom encounters we'll be talking to in the run. Now we're about to go to the first central unit, the Artaria Central Unit. So all we do here is we're just going to spam 15 missiles. And then you're going to see me do a technique called weaving, which I'll explain weaving in more depth in this run. Which, weaving's not really relevant here. Okay, so you just saw me rapid fire my Omega Cannon. That's for a reason. So, the first shot of the Omega Cannon is always the most powerful. And if you can repeatedly, like, spam and mash that, you can actually out-DPS the Omega Cannon. To actually benefit from that, you need to be mashing over 15 times a second. Which is what you also saw me do on White Enemy Plant Kill. I basically optimized my movement so I could actually plant on the ledge, and then I just started aiming and shooting, and did the Omega technique like I explained a little bit ago. And now we have Spider Magnets. Now this power-up is going to allow us to climb blue walls we saw earlier on ZDR. And that's that for now. Okay, now that we've Spider Magnet, we've gotten to this part of Artari where we're about to face a boss named Corpius. Corpius can give you a lot of patterns. He can move his head up and down. On phase 1 specifically... Okay, actually, yeah, on phase 1 specifically, he can give you a spit attack, which can result in something we call a headlock. Unfortunately, in this run, I did not get it, because without the headlock, I would actually have to, like... Because Corpius goes invisible on phase 2, so I actually have to guess where his head is, and I have to fire missiles into his head. I have to guess where his head is moving, and I can miss a lot of shots, wasting a bunch of time. Thankfully, I hit enough shots to where I only needed 2 charge beams to finish him off. Which means if I had hit 2 more missiles, I would have done phase 2 with phase 3 skip without headblocks, so yeah. Now that we have Corpius down, we have gotten the Phantom Cloak, which those sensor doors, we use our Phantom Cloak to actually get into those sensor doors, like the one here. Now for a really important trick, which we call the Elevator D-Boost. I basically manipulate the plies into such a position where the one ply that D-boosted me would D-boost me by being in a very specific position. Then, by wall jumping, and then wall jumping again, and then pressing free aim at the apex of your jump, he can actually deboost you, because apparently knockback with free aim is really powerful. Enemy knockback from free aim is really powerful. My bad for not being specific. So again, the Switch 2 really coming into play here with the reduced loads on this screen. That load is already done. On Switch 1, you would have to be waiting 8 more seconds for that load, which is a lot of time! It's a lot of time! Which is why, like, everything in this game is important to optimize. Loads, movement, fire rate, just everything. And now here's the last atom. The last atom's gonna blab about the Phantom Cloak and its uses. We speedrun this game, so we don't need to be told how to use the Phantom Cloak. Now, because we've tech smashed through Atom, we're done. We're done with Atom for now. And now we're about to hit another thermal switch, which a lot of Catarists, you'll just see me run around and activate thermal switches. There's not much to really explain for 4 minutes, other than do thermal switches. The next trick that's going to come up, like we saw a minute ago, we're actually going to set up another damage boost. This is called Super Boost, and we again manipulate flies to save ourselves a magnet cycle. It's worth it to do, but you just go if you fail it. Like, it's like 2 seconds. So yeah. Again, that was Super Boost. And now we're going to do something what we call a Hell Run. So, you may know from Metroid games, if you step in a hot room, you'll take damage. Well, we're taking damage on purpose, because guess what? We're saving 3 seconds. So it's actually equally important to save 3 seconds. It is very easy to die in there, but thankfully I had an E-Tank, which actually helped with the Hell Run. Without the E-Tank, it would have been very easy to die. But thankfully I didn't die to the Hell Run, I managed to get out there unscathed. Movement was good, run was good overall, and that's that. Like before, you're gonna see me activate another thermal switch. What a surprise. So we're gonna do that too. Additionally, you'll see me activate another thermal switch in like 30 seconds. Not much to explain here, but I took the top route instead of the bottom route because thermal gate simply opens faster. There's not much to explain to that other than that. And now the thermal switch active. Very boring part of the run. To me, Catalyst is the most uninteresting part of the run. Except what's coming up in a minute. Which I'll explain sooner than later. No, more like 30 seconds. Alright, so this next trick coming up is very hard and requires a very specific setup and a timing of a couple buffered wall jumps to execute. This next trick is called Atom Save Skip, and it's equally mandatory that you go learn this, because this will save you a lot of time. So we're going to position ourselves on the magnet, and we're going to do 2 buffered wall jumps. And then on the peak of our second buffered wall jump, we're going to do a wall jump into a melee, and we're going to do a buffered wall jump, which has a 2-frame window to execute. In this run, I get it a second try, which is not easy at all. Which, for this run, second try Atom Skip is very good for me, and I will always take a second try Atom Skip, no matter the circumstances. And now... So, because we did Atom Skip, we were able to skip a certain part of Catalyst where we had to go down around and talk to Adam. And that would have taken a minute. Additionally, talking to Adam triggers all the Atoms in the game. So basically, you can think of Adam as a bus stop. We skip one Atom, that Atom never leaves that station, and therefore the Atom is not at the next Atom station. And each Atom's conversation maybe saves around 15 to 20 seconds. It depends on the Atom's conversation because of the amount of dialogue that you have to do. So yeah, that's the huge benefit of doing Atom Skip. We can also skip a really bad RNG part of the run, which is Frog in the Well spawn, where you can nickname it Goomba Emmy because it's literally like, basically if you step on the enemy, it will not die like a Goomba. So yeah, Atom Skip has that benefit of skipping Frog in the Well routing. Now we're almost done with counters. Quick segment. Boring 6 minutes of the game. So yeah. Now we're about to grab our second and final E-Tank of the run. And now another thermal switch. What a surprise. We don't need to worry about this one because we're just gonna go. Not much to really worry here. Alright, now that we're out of Catalyst, we're about to transition to the next area of Diron. And now we're going to wait on this really long loading screen, which is greatly shortened thanks to the Switch 2. Just like before, all loads in the game were reduced, because, Switch 2 is that much more powerful in hardware. So now that loading screen's over, we're in Diron. Also, the whole reason the game takes so long to load is because Metroid Dread has a very interesting design choice of loading the entire area once. Great going, devs! So yeah, basically, Diron, I think it's the biggest? I don't know if that's Artari or Diron, both are really big. But anyway, Diron takes a long time to load. So yeah, Diron... Basically, that's why Metroid Dread has a lot of loading screens, and that's why the Switch 2 saves like 8 seconds on loads per load, saving about 3.5 minutes the entire run. That's why it's so much, because of Metroid Dread's design choice. Moving on from that and on to actually why we're here. So the power is out in the section of Dairon, and we need to find the generator, which by the way we just found. Sam is casually sticking her arm cannon into things. So now that we found the thermal no, not the thermal station, the power generator. What is this, Catarus? Now that we found the power generator, we're going to grab our very important upgrade, not only for progression, but for boss DPS. We have the wide beam. So this beam will fire in parts, each part doing the same amount as the power beam. It fires in 3 parts, meaning that you basically do triple damage a shot. This is the biggest DPS upgrade on our beam we will get in the entire game. And because I want to explain another design choice of this game, so actually no, I'll explain it later. Yeah, anyway, you'll see what I have to explain later. So now that we have the wide beam, we can shoot down these things called wide beam boxes, which you have to hit exactly pixel center wise. If you're off, it will miss, and then you have to charge again. It's really awkward and slow. So yeah, I basically do my movements in a way that will actually get me to push the wide beam boxes over pixel perfect. So that's that. We're about to have another very important use for wide beam. Not only we are able to knock down those Pedro boxes, but there's something that wide beam requires in this area, so that's why we just came back after going to Dairon. Yeah, this wide beam cover right here. Now that we have fully access to wide beam covers, we're actually able to get to the Catter Central Unit, which gives us a very important item. You're about to see me do a technique with charge beam missiles. We call them Charlies. So in this game, if you start a charge and then like release it in a specific way by like quick turnarounding or just jumping in the air, you can actually quick charge. And if you fire charge beam in addition with the missiles, you can do something called a charge beam, which is better than beam spam or missile spam in some cases. Like before, I'm going to be using the highly powered Omega Stream, which is just firing the first shot. Just repeatedly firing the first shot. Like before, I did that with the door and now the Emmy. So yeah, green Emmy's down. Quick kill, super simple. You just shoot in place and he dies. Now that we have Morph Ball, we are able to now access the small tunnels, which is our reward item for killing the green Emmy. So yeah, like in a lot of Metroid games, Morph Ball exists, but unlike a lot of Metroid games, Morph Ball comes very late. Because this game breaks the tradition of Morph Ball bombs first. So yeah, there's that. There is a lot of cool mechanics to Morph, such as Slide and Morph being able to be combined, and then being able to like just instant Morph, which is cool. Again, you just saw me use the teleporter to go back to Artari. We're actually going back to Artari because there's something we need to pick up. So yes, the theme of Metroid is backtracking for progression, totally. Morph Ball also has a really interesting mechanic here. If you morph off a ledge underwater, you'll get a slight boost. For some reason, this works, and we just utilize it as speedrunners. But in a physics stance, this doesn't make any sense. So yeah, you'll see me morph off a lot of ledges, underwater, because it gives you a really big speed boost, because moving in water is slow. So there's that. Now that we've activated another thermal switch, we now we are now causing the place to self-destruct, so we better run. Yeah, I'm just gonna be going, and there's not really much to explain here, except, like, little pieces of movement, which I've kind of covered, but yeah, not much. So yeah, there's the Barrier climb sequence, so yeah. Now that we've escaped that, we are about to get a very important item that would unlock a lot of progression. Actually, no, I lied. It only allows us to survive 2 rooms in the entire game. If that was not the case, we could be skipping Varia Suit entirely. So, Varia Suit, like in, like, the majority of Metroid games, allows heat protection, because without that, we'd be dying in a lot of hot rooms. So yeah. Varia Suit now gives us full immunity. It also increases the dash melee's damage. And now we have Varia, we are actually going to go back to Cataris to pay very familiar boss a visit. Because yes, we need to pay our lovely evil big green time waster Kraid a visit. Which we're about to fight Kraid on the split, actually. So yeah. Now that we are more fully geared up for Kraid, we're just going to sit and wait on this teleporter screen for 10 seconds. Okay, now that we are we are actually at Kraid's lair, we're going to start fighting him. And like before on the counter central unit, we're actually going to utilize our Charlies again to actually do a lot of DPS to Kraid. Because fun fact, on this phase of the fight of Kraid, missiles do 50% less damage. And now that we are done with phase 1, we are going to do something with Morph Ball that I hadn't explained before. Single wall jumping. Apparently, if you morph at a wall jump, it doesn't send you very far, so apparently it's also possible to chain that. Sorry, my bad for not enunciating. Basically, by chaining that like 4 to 5 times in a row, you can get up. And there's Kraid. Basically, after I did the single wall jump, I just spammed missiles into his mouth continuously. And that allowed me to finish the fight pretty quickly, because missiles do actually 25% more damage on phase 2. Weird design choice by the devs. So yeah, we just spam missiles, and then when Kraid gave us the counter, we actually took the counter for a missile refill, and I just parried him. You also saw me not take any counter cutscenes, because missiles will do drastically less damage, indicating a DPS waste. Great game. So yeah, you'll never see me take any melee counters on bosses, even though they're super cool to do. Now that we killed Kraid, we got this thing called the Diffusion Beam, which is very important for just beating the game. So yeah, that's a reward item for killing Kraid. And now, with that, we got to take the purple teleport to Dire, which allows us to do the next very important part of the run, which I consider very interesting, because guess what? The devs put this part into the game. They knew people would try to do this. So, I haven't explained the movement tech yet, so what I just did there is something we call coyote jumping. So, coyote jump is when Samus slides, and then she jumps, and she gets a little height boost. That coyote jump allows us to get up a, certain wall No, not certain wall. It allows us to get up to the ledge, that one ledge, and then we do the same coyote jump again to get across the lava. No, if you fall in the second lava pit, you have to go back to checkpoint. Because if you fall in the lava, there's no way you're making it out. So I've not explained the way lava damage works in this game, or environmental damage. It basically does it by an exponent. So if you start taking damage, it's going to exponentially increase. It gets really bad. So don't fall in the lava. If you do fall in the lava, make sure to get out quickly, because you really wouldn't want to just fall in the lava like that. So yeah, basically to summarize, we use a well-timed coyote jump, and we jump at the right time to get across there. So now we have grapple beam, and we now have a lot of movement options with this. You'll see me later in the run do something called a grapple cancel, where if I hold the jump button and then cancel my grapple beam, again I get a height boost, and I can swing in a pattern. That's kind of how I can imagine grapple canceling. You'll see it maybe in a little bit. Yeah, you'll see it in a little bit. So yeah, grapple canceling isn't really relevant here. It's just a movement tech you can do with grapple beam. Again, I'm morphing here and then jumping in a certain way to avoid taking lava ticks. Again, two seconds in the lava and we already lose a bunch of health. So yeah, that's why you want to be careful about what you do. Now coming up, we actually need the yellow Emmy, and we actually get to not ignore it. Okay, yellow Emmy gives me a very good spawn. So yellow Emmy is very notorious for giving you a very bad pattern in that room, and that bad pattern, if you don't know what to do, can easily kill you and throw you off, and perhaps kill your run. So thankfully we get good RNG. So yeah, like before in Diron, there was a power generator. We're going to find the second one. And oh look, we already found the second power generator. So now that we activated that, we're about to get another very important progression item, which you can actually see on my live split. We have bombs. Very important because we have a number of mechanics we can use. We can break floors, and we can use morph ball launchers, and I'm not sure if we'll use in this run, we can infinite bomb jump. So it is possible to chain a sequence of bomb jumps to actually gain infinite height. It's very cool, but I'm not sure if we actually use infinite bomb jumping. Actually, no, I lied. We do use infinite bomb jumping. But in a couple minutes, I'll explain why it's actually relevant. So, like before, early grapple not only is faster. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain, it's actually faster, so that's why we do it. So, grapple opens a number of shortcuts for us, which allows us to just get through quicker. We can also pull ourselves to surfaces, which is what I just did there. So not much to explain because there's a load screen. But yeah, now we're going to go to Brenia, which is very important because that is actually our pathway to get to Yellow Emmy, interestingly enough. Okay, now that we are in Brenia, we find this grapple block which we can actually open because we did early grapple. Otherwise, we'd have to go through a really slow water maze, which takes over 20 seconds, and that's a lot of time we're spending. So yeah, grapple allows us to open a simple shortcut that was actually put in by the devs. Nice reward for sequence breaking. And now coming up, we actually have a trick we're going to use infinite bomb jumping for. We have to use a series of 7 bomb jumps to get into a specific shutter gate. We have to do them diagonally because otherwise we're going to basically trick the game into thinking we're on the floor when we're actually on the floor. So yeah, we're actually going to do backdoor flash now. So this is backdoor flash. I'm also going to go into stick neutral because that would allow me not to knock the shutter gate on the other side. Because if you knock the shutter gate, it's going to close and then it takes 3 seconds to open. Unfortunately, I take a few tries there. And now we did backdoor flash. We have flash shift now. This item is really good. So, this item is one of Samus's most powerful movement items we'll get in the entire game. Because we can instantly move. We also are able to chain up to 3 flash shifts at once, which allows a lot of movement. You'll see me later in the run do something called flash chaining, which is just doing a series of movements to preserve my flash shifts and to optimize my movement. Throat being a little dry there. So now that we are have flash shift and we're exiting Brenia, I am now going to go back to Diron. Now that we're back at Diron, I'm going to go kill the central unit. The important thing here is that you'll see me you'll see me flash shift in the air in a lot of places because flash shifting in the air sends you farther than ground flashing, which is very important. Right there, I just used an air flash. I'm going to be using a lot of those. And now we're about to go to the central unit. Like before, I'm going to be using Charlie's to take it out, because that's the fastest way of dealing DPS. Until we get Speed Booster and more powerful upgrades later in the run. And now we've taken out the core, we're going to use the, Omega Beam Spam like before. Which is very useful for breaking open the door, just easing out that little bit of time. This Emmy kill is really hard for casual players, but by shooting it as it comes out of the Emmy belt, we can aim and shoot it without any worries. Which allows me to take it out with complete ease. No setup, you just shoot and look away. Now that we have Speed Booster, that is a reward item. As a reward item for killing Yellow Emmy, that we have Speed Booster, which allows for a lot of movement. You'll see me combined with Flash Shifts. You just saw. So Speed Booster allows you to wall jump and keep speed. The reason I did a Ball Spark there is that is to avoid the little cinematic for Samus Shine Sparks. Using that cinematic wastes a lot of time, so Ball Sparking ends up actually being faster movement option. So like I was saying earlier, we actually, right I just did right there is what we call the flash chain. We're going to be combining it a lot with movement and a lot of wall jumping, and just a lot of walking in general. So that way we can flash shift in the optimal places, and so that way we just don't waste any flash shifts. Coming up here is what a trick we call the quiet rope speed keep. It is a trick we're going to be immediately storing a shine spark and then using a bunch of flash chains to get up. And there you go. That's the quiet rope speed keep. So yeah, it's just a little bit faster than like doing other movement options. Additionally, with Speed Booster, we're going to actually use the Shine Sparking to actually take out this boss called Quiet Robot. And it dies in 2 Shine Sparks because Shine Sparks do a lot of damage. In this game in particular, Shine Sparks can either take out the entire boss, half the boss's health, or none of the boss's health. So that's Quiet Robot. Now that Quiet Rope is down, we are going to be actually leaving this area, and then we're actually going to be going back to another area we previously visited. Man, I'm getting tired. Okay. Now that we're back in Brania, we are going to actually go to a gate open, quiet rope opened, which is needed to that path. That is basically the path forward to the rest of the planets. Yeah, so all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a bunch of speed keeping. Because the next thing we're going to do is actually face a boss named Drogaiga. We're going to do a particular trick that I'll be explaining in a second. So, Drogaiga is a bit complicated. So, normally Drogaiga has 2 phases, but there's a way to one-cycle the boss. After you do the first... After Drog opens its tentacles for the first... Okay, so this is Drog. We're going to be spamming 50 missiles into the tentacle. We're going to be then charge beaming the power switches. And now we're going to wait for Drog to open his mouth. We're also going to repeatedly melee after we fire 4 missiles. And then we're going to take the parry, because then we need missile drops. And that is how you one-cycle Drog. What I was trying to explain earlier, but yeah, I was incomplete, which is my bad. So, what you just saw right there is what we call grapple canceling. It's a very important movement technique where it just allows us to get up certain places faster, especially those magnets. So yeah, that's what I said about grapple canceling. You just saw it right there. So yeah, and now that the Drog is dead, we're going to go to Gavram, which for some reason the forest is underground. Is this even possible? So yeah, now that we're in Gavram. Oh my. So yeah, basically like with the gray bot, we can also spark the yellow bots. No, the gold bot. So we went in there with a Shine Spark, which did half of its health, and then I just repeatedly spammed missiles, which do a lot of damage on that boss. So yeah, I basically just spammed missiles and slid to it, so I could reduce. So basically, sliding into it is greatly reduces damage rather than just tanking the attacks. So that's why I just slide and spam missiles. And now, we're about to get our next progression, Super Missiles. So, Super Missiles, interestingly enough, is a DPS decrease because of the cooldown. Although Super Missiles do triple damage and are actually really cool, it's just regular missiles have more DPS apparently, which is unfortunate, but yeah, that's just Metroid Dread in a nutshell. So Super Missiles allow us to break open Super Missiles doors, which we just broke open. And now we're about to get to a very important part of the game. A very game-changing part of Dread's story. Like at the beginning of the game, you just saw me do another damage boost. Because again, that enemy has a lot of knockback. It has a lot of knockback, so I was actually able to gain a lot of speed and distance. So there's that. That was Hackathon boost. Now we are entering Elon, which is a very important plot part of Metroid Dread, but is a very boring part for speedrunners. But this actually has a lot of relevance in Dread's story. But yeah, again, a ton of progression. And now we have released the X Parasites. So if you may have known from Metroid Fusion, if you've played Metroid Fusion, you will know what these parasites are. They literally do the same thing in Dread. And now we have Plasma Beam. And now here's where the game really changes. So beams now become our primary source of DPS, not just missiles and charge beams. Beams. Because now that we have Plasma Beam, we're doing a lot of damage per second. Our beam now has a ×2 damage multiplier, which Plasma Beam will do 150 damage per shot. You'll see me mash very fast and leave missiles in between my shots. I'm actually using a turbo controller here because Metroid Dread has allowed the use of turbo controllers up to 21 shots per second. We don't... The community feels that the health of people's hands are more important, and they don't feel mashing is an important skill, so they just decide to allow 21 Hz turbo. That's that with turbo. I'm primarily using turbo for beam spam only and nothing else. Everything is done manually except the boss fights. So, with weaving, beams in this game, like I've explained before, have absolutely no cooldown. So if you shoot the beam like 20 times a second, you're doing 20 shots a second. You're doing a lot of DPS. If you fire your beam and then fire a missile in between, if you fire your beam within the missile, if you fire a missile and then fire your beam and then fire a missile again within the missile cooldown, you're basically also doing additional damage that way. So that's why you're seeing me fire missiles and beams in between my shots. Now that we're back in Gab, the X are now released. And now we're coming up on another very important trick, which is also the defining trick of this game and this category. This is what we call Glitchless Early Eyes. So this is not a glitch, but it's not intended by the devs because they really didn't think you could speed keep here, but you actually can speed keep. We use a well-timed mid-air morph off a ledge into some well-timed jumps, and then into a mid-air Shine Spark to get across that ledge. Because otherwise, you have to spend 2.5 minutes fighting an extra boss and grabbing an extra power-up, which Glitchless Early Ice avoids completely all of that. And like before on the Gavarin Warrior, no, the Elon Warrior, we used weaving to completely kill the boss. So yeah, the Omega stream, I'm using Turbo for that as well. Also, a funny side effect of the Switch 2 having no lag, I'm now using Turbo Omega stream on this kill, where on Switch 1 it would cause a problem, but now that we are on Switch 2, we just manually mash we just turbo the Omega stream. Now we get our next missile upgrade. We now have ice missiles. So again, a DPS decrease, but now our missiles do 400 damage. Now we have ice missiles, they can destroy the fire plants we call Enki. Very important to beat the game. Now that we have ice missiles, we have this path now unlocked to us, which is going to take us to a tram that's going to take us to Ferenia. The next 10 minutes of the game are going to be very interesting, because you think, wow, you think that's a glitch? Well, no. We're just exploiting mechanics here. Now that we're ready, we're going to do a very important trick we call Glitchless our release space. So we have 3 bomb blocks. We're going to use some very tight movement and some very tight mid-air morphs to get up to the missile pack, which we got first try. And now we have space jump. This item is so important. This item also has a bunch of properties to it. We can now jump infinitely in the air, but we also have some very interesting mechanics we're going to exploit in a couple of minutes. And now that we have space jump, we are exiting Ferenia. There's not much really to explain for the next couple of minutes, so I'm just gonna chill and relax and take a step back. And now we've gone back to Artaria. We are actually going to be picking up Screw Attack right now, so you may think, wow, how are we gonna get Screw Attack? Yeah, so we have a glitchless way of doing it, so we're not going to be short boosting, and we're not going to be using any skew shenanigans like you may see in other categories. We're actually going to be using a very interesting mechanic with Space Jump. Before we do that, we're going to be going through the cold room, which takes less than 99 health, which is a fine enough tax to pay. We're going to open up this grapple door. This is the interesting part. So you're about to see me do a trick we call water space jump. So if you rub against corners in a particular way, you gain extra height. And if you change that repeatedly, you can actually get up to this ledge. Oh look, we're already up to the ledge. So yeah, that's why I specifically went to Frenny to grab space jump, because it's required for this trick. Because without glitches, we cannot be getting a shine spark up that ledge. So we actually have to use space jump. And now we have screw attack. Also, the reason I had to go and destroy the blob and get a Shine Spark first is because we cannot water bomb jump. That Shine Spark is to actually get up to screw attack. So yeah, that's why I did that Shine Spark. It's because it was required. And now we've now that we have screw attack, we're going to do another water space jump here. So very good. And now I'm going to try chaining some speed keeps here. Oh yeah, so the thing I didn't explain about Speed Booster earlier is that if you Shine Spark against the slope, you'll start Speed Boosting again. So that's one of the Speed Booster mechanics I clearly explained. So now we're actually going to make our way to the, towards the surface of the planet. We're at the bottom, and now we're going to use a bunch of teleporters to get back to Gavran. And then to Brenia. There's not really much to explain here, but we're just going to be going through a bunch of maze-like tunnels, and then we're going to be going to the green teleporter, which is required to clear the game. So this is our last missile pack in the run. We only have 40 missiles, but we'll be okay. Now, we have spent like 3 teleporters going to here. And now, we're actually going to do another intensive sequence break. This time it's for Gravity Suit. So I'm going to use a well-timed Shine Spark store to actually store on the blocks. Because if I didn't, I would have to break the blocks, and then I'd have to charge my Shine Spark again. And now we're through. That's early Gravity Suit. So now I'm going to use a lot of I'm going to be using a lot of well-timed quick charges, which, again, I forgot to explain. You can not only quick charge in the air, but you can do it on the ground. That is what we call God Blobs. I did not get God Blobs, but if you nail all quick charges, then that's what we call God Blobs, because, yeah, it's cool. It's completely cool, man. And we have Gravity Suit, which now makes water disappear from our suit. So yeah, water water and lava and it basically has hazardous liquids will not affect us. And now with the well-timed Shine Spark, we're able to actually be in a particular spot. And now we have Space Jump, we're able to Space Jump up this tower, and look, another boss, which we're going to shred by holding the shoot button for like 5 seconds, and then they die. Yeah, so, like I have not explained, not only beams have no cooldowns, but a lot of bosses take damage from our beam. So the gold so I forgot to explain. So when we got Plasma Beam, robotic enemies became immune to Plasma. Did not stop becoming immune to our beam, which included the gold bots. So now all Chozo bots and Chozo warriors and all sorts of enemies are now not immune, are weak. I mean, lack of better word, are weak to our beam. Okay, real important boss coming up. This is what we call Galzuna. So I'm going to spam beams into the Musby, and then I'm going to and then basically I use a particular setup where I fire like 4 or 5 ice pistols to actually auto time the Goliath's death. But I think I went a little bit early, which I almost could have done the faster setup, but unfortunately I missed it. And then basically, I did another well-timed Shine Spark, and then I basically Ball Sparked into Galzuna, and then I killed him with 2 Shine Sparks, which completely destroyed his health. Because Shine Sparks do about half of Galzuna's health, which for this case, doing half 28,000 HP is like a lot. So yeah, that's how you quickly kill Galzuna. There are some better and faster setups, but this is the one I know how to do. So yeah, that's Galzuna. I almost screwed up by accidentally insta-sparking the wrong way because I didn't realize I actually killed him because I'm so used to actually not killing him. So yeah, that's Galzuna in a nutshell. You also saw me when I grabbed the Corax, the X-Parasite. I actually laid 4 bombs. For some reason, if you don't do that, crossbow sometimes has a chance of just not working. Like, not working at all. So yeah, so that's why I laid 4 bombs. Because crossbombs are completely notorious. And now, because we've killed Galzuna and we've grabbed crossbombs, we've now managed to arrive on the planet of the surface. Sorry if the explanations seem a little bit late. I'm trying to, like, explain stuff well enough for, like, the viewers to understand. So, another thing in Glitchless is we cannot double turn around the grapple blocks. So yeah, we have to go around and we have to go the long dev intended way, which unfortunately I made that mistake by grabbing that missile tank. So yeah. So I have 42 missiles instead of 40, which is fine. It's like 3 or 4 seconds. And now we're back in Frenia. Before we can go to the end of the game, we actually need to grab 2 items in Frenia, which would actually need to beat the game. Because without those, we cannot do certain things in Hanubia without these 2 items. And now we're actually going to go to the Emmy Zone for the first time. With a well-timed jump there, I'm actually able to not get caught by the yellow Emmy because of just the positioning that I had set up there. There's not much to explain, but I'm just gonna move and avoid detection. So purple Emmy may seem really scary, but with a lot of good movement and gravity suit being completely beneficial here, we're actually able to avoid detection pretty easily. So there's that. This boss coming up may be hard in a casual playthrough, but we're going to be storing a Shine Spark, then laying a Crossbomb to propel— No, I'm not. Actually, I don't do that setup. I just use a standing Shine Spark. Shine Spark And then 6 screw attacks kills the screaming fly we call SQ. So by using a bunch of well-timed Shining Spark and well-timed screw attack, we're actually able to deplete the boss's health in about 10 seconds. And then by positioning our screw attack in such a way, we can actually double hit the Corex. So that means we can actually get 2 screw attacks in at once, doing 2/3 of its health instantly. So that means we can get the Corex to kill in 2 rounds rather than 3. So because of that, we now have Storm Missiles, which is a very volatile and very powerful item, which we're still going to be utilizing our beams, because our beams do way more DPS than 5 Storm Missile locks. Although our Storm Missiles can be used in some situations. Those Storm Missiles that we grabbed, we need them to get through Storm Missile boxes. And oh yeah, another bot fight. We're just gonna shred the bot's health by just shooting our beam. You also saw me spark the gold bot rather than the gray bot. That's because the gold bot has more health and more HP. In that case, the bots die pretty quickly. So now we're going to be using our Storm Missiles to clear out another Storm Missile box, which we clear out with no issues. Now, because we have Storm Missiles, we're actually able to take on the Purple Emmy, which has a very important upgrade for us, which we're about to do in a second. So, like on the Blue Emmy, we're actually going to use a Shining Spark to take out the core, and then we're going to use a Screw Attack. So, fun fact, Screw Attack does 99,000 damage to the 99,000 to the brain. A Shining Spark instantly takes out the core, and the Screw Attack instantly takes out the head. So that is the that's basically the central unit in a nutshell. And now, like earlier, like on White Emmy and all the Emmys, I'm going to be using turboing my Omega Stream to make this kill significantly easier. This is also the only Emmy kill where we're actually cramped up in a corner. So, how I do this kill is I use my stick to track the head. I use the free aim movement to actually track the head. I basically fire Omega Stream to the best accuracy as possible. This kill is very punishing if you miss it, but Turbo Mega Stream also makes it significantly easier since you're doing a lot more DPS per second. In the particular kill I did, you can still miss a lot of shots, so yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty easy to miss. But once you get down the aim and timing, it's pretty good. And it's pretty consistentable, is for a lack of a better term. So now that we have Wave Beam, we can now shoot through object. We also get a significant boost in our beam damage. And now we are going to really shred bosses here. Because we have nothing left in Frenny, we're actually going to go to the surface of the planet. So yeah, anyway. I think I explained Wave Emmy Plant Kill, I'm not sure anyway. I did my best to explain it. We're going to, yeah. So now we're in Canada. And now I'm going to go to the next thing, which is fight another Emmy, which is very scary because this Emmy kill is really hard and kills a lot of runs. Actually, I lied. We're not killing an Emmy. We're actually killing a Chozo Warrior instead. With a couple of well-timed Storm Walks and then just spamming beams, we can instantly deplete this boss's health. He dies in 2 seconds because we literally killed him that fast. So yeah, he didn't even have the chance to attack there. So yeah, story-wise, Samus has a Metroid siphoning powers. So that's why we did not fight the Emmy. We never fight this Emmy we never fight this Emmy, like, ever. In fact, it's not even an Emmy to fight in the game. Although, interestingly enough, it counts as a boss in the game's code. Weird choice. Now we have power bombs, which is our final upgrade. Power bombs are a bit interesting here. So, these drones have a high drop rate of power bombs. However, if they die with power bombs, you will not get power bombs. But if you shoot them with wave beam, you'll get power bombs. So yeah, that's why I particularly time my wave beam shots to actually hit the drones before the power bomb goes off. Here we have another speed keep we're about to use. It's called Penthouse Keep. So basically, I use a couple of well-timed wave beam shots, and then like a slide morph off the ledge to actually speed keep. And now, here's the Gold Chozo Warrior. Like all the Chozo Warriors, we're going to be spamming beams because Gold Chozo dies really fast to wave beam. He also dies really fast to ice missile, which we just combined the missile weaving with. Okay, now that we have killed Gold Chozo, we're about to come up on a very important boss we call Ravenbeak, which is our apparently our dad, which is very cool. So Ravenbeak is behind all the Emmy stuff and was actually Adam the entire time, but we never talked to Adam because he's been on voicemail. So yes, that's super cool. So now that we're going to Ravenbeak's Fortress in the Sky. We are going to actually fight Ravenbeak. There's a lot to explain here, but I'll explain it briefly. Ravenbeak's... Actually, I'll explain it in like 10 more seconds. So, actually, I'll explain it now, never mind. So, Ravenbeak has something... We're about to go into phase 1 of the fight. It's a little complicated. I'm going to be attempting to use my crossbombs and ice missiles to instantly phase him. Because crossbombs multi-hits, and ice missiles, like, also do a lot. If you can do 3 ice missiles and a crossbomb like I did here, you can instantly phase him. If he gives you a, heat wave, you waste 3 to 5 seconds. And now here's Gold Skip. All you're doing is fast shooting here. To make that, you need to mash at 15 times a second. To do it without Stormlocks, it's a little easier. To do it without Stormlocks, you need to do a, incredible amount of damage. So, you saw me on phase 2 put Ravenbeak to the left wall. That is to eliminate the fact that he does the Stomp attack. I was not on the left wall there. So now there's phase 3. I'm going to, like on the Elon Warrior and other bosses, I'm going to be using the Missile Weaving. Because, Missile Weaving does an extensive amount of damage here. Ravenbeak's almost dead. Ravenbeak should be dead. So yeah, that was the Ravenbeak fight. Basically on phase 3, there's some good and bad RNG he can do. If he gives you a stun, you might as well tank it. If he gives you other attacks, you might as well tank it. The goal is raw DPS. So yeah, the other thing I forgot to explain is Ravenbeak takes your beam is 20% effective on Ravenbeak, but your ice missiles are not less effective. So yeah, that's why we use there to get double TPS. That's basically the Ravenbeak fight. And because we killed Ravenbeak, and X-Parasite has affected him because, Ravenbeak and Samus crash landed on the planet. So now Ravenbeak is dead. And like in all Metroid games, the planet is exploding. So, because we, went full Metroid, we were able to kill RBX with the Hyper Beam, which is Ravenbeak X, because yes, Ravenbeak turned into an X-Parasite. We lost, as a result of getting the Metroid suit, we lost our Aeon abilities. Which means that we cannot Flash Shift, we cannot use Grapple Beam. No, actually we can't. A lot of our beam... Okay, the Metroid suit takes away upgrades. Not only takes away Aeon upgrades, but also takes beam missile upgrades away. So I actually don't have a lot of my equipment So that's why I'm not flash shifting, because I simply do not have flash shift on Escape. So you'll see me use space jumps and dash melees instead. I'm going to be using a well-timed Shining Spark to avoid another cinematic just like earlier in the run. And our time should be coming up in like 10 seconds. And I'm going to now be using another... So now I'm just going to let go of the controller and we're done. That is Metroid Dread 90% glitchless. So Escape has a lot of pizzas and stuff. That thing is like a huge piece of Escape. And also just like utilizing your movement. Yeah. To conclude, this game has a lot to unpack in it. This game is also very good and has a bunch of speedrun potential that I love about it. So you saw right there, I got a personal best of 1 hour and 12 minutes and 15 seconds, which is the current world record on speedrun.com. This is my run, and this is what I really enjoy about this game. Now that we have our suit pack, now that we have our full suit back, we now can escape Planet ZDR. And that, right there, will conclude my explanation of this category, and that will include this commentary session. Thanks for watching, everyone.